The cake wasn't very big. It was the cheapest one I could find. It was vanilla with blue frosting and had tiny plastic balloons on top. I remember looking at it in the store's freezer for a long time. I just hoped it would be enough to make him smile. My son had just turned 7. He didn't ask for presents. He never did. He just wanted a cake. We had been living with my parents for 3 months because I lost our apartment. I was saving every paycheck from my job at the diner. I counted the money and kept it in an envelope, which I hid inside an old cereal box. It wasn't much. Maybe $600, but it was just enough to get by. It was for gas, new shoes for my son, and maybe enough to rent a tiny room of our own again. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching this video. Then, my mom found the envelope. I came home that night, still in my work uniform, smelling like cooking grease and coffee. She was sitting at the kitchen table, waving the money in her hand like a flag. "You were really going to hide this from your family?" she said. "I'm not hiding it," I said carefully. "It's my savings for rent." She laughed a low, sharp laugh. "For rent? Your sister is going to Mexico next week. You should help her. Family helps family." "I've helped her enough," I said quietly. "I'm not giving her my rent money." Her smile went away. "You think you're better than us now, working at some diner?" I looked down at the cake box in my hands. It's my son's birthday. I just wanted to do something nice for him. My dad's voice came from the living room. "Don't try to make your mother feel guilty. Give her the money and stop acting like you're special." "I'm not acting special," I said. "I'm just tired of paying for everyone else's fun." That's when she stood up very slowly. Her eyes were cold. She wasn't angry. She was just thinking. "You're not part of this family until you learn respect." I turned to go out the door, holding the cake. Then I guess I'm not part of it. The last thing I remember before it happened was the sound of her feet moving fast. Then there was a sudden white-hot pain. She hit me so hard across the face that my head slammed against the refrigerator. I heard a cracking sound and felt blood on my lip. The cake dropped to the floor. Frosting went everywhere. My son screamed from the hallway. Mom didn't even care. She pointed at me, breathing hard. "Look at you," she hissed. "You ungrateful trash. You think you can just walk out? You owe us everything." Dad came in and grabbed my arm. "Stop crying. You always make things worse." I put my hand to my face. When I pulled it away, it was red with blood. My nose felt crooked. It felt wrong. The room was spinning. My son held onto my leg, crying into my jeans. "Mom, please stop," he begged. She looked at him. For a second, I thought she looked guilty, but the look went away just as fast. If she learned how to listen, Mom said, none of this would have happened. I took my son's hand and walked out the front door. I didn't even have shoes on. The cold. Night air hurt my skin. I couldn't breathe right. We walked down the street until we couldn't see the house anymore. My son kept looking back, holding my arm. "Are we in trouble?" He whispered. "No, baby," I said softly, but my voice was shaking. "Not anymore." We sat at the park near the gas station, under a yellow streetlight. I wiped my face with my sleeve, trying to hide the blood from him. He looked at the broken cake box in my hands. The frosting was ruined, but one small corner was still okay. He reached out, took a little bit with his finger, and smiled. "It still tastes good," he said quietly. That broke my heart. I laughed and cried at the same time, hugging him so tight he squeaked. I have lost my home, my savings, and my pride. But I still had him. When the bleeding finally stopped, I called my mom from a payphone. She didn't even sound worried. "Are you done being dramatic?" she asked. "My nose is broken," I said flatly. "Well, you shouldn't have disrespected me," she said. "And don't come back until you learn to behave." I hung up. That night, we stayed in the back room of the diner where I worked. My manager, a quiet man named George, found us when he came in early. He didn't ask questions. He just gave me a bag of ice and said, "You're not going back there, right?" I shook my head. "Not this time." But I didn't tell him what I was really thinking. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just trying to survive their meanness. I was making a plan to end it for good. in a way they would never expect. They thought they had control by breaking me, but they forgot something. Pain goes away, feeling ashamed fades. But a mother will never forget the day her child walked away, bleeding and never looked back. I was going to make sure they felt that silence every single day. The next few days were a blur. I was so tired and couldn't believe what happened. The pain in my face was bad, but the pain in my heart was worse. Every time I saw my face in the diner's window, the big bruise on my nose reminded me what love meant in that house. My coworkers didn't ask what happened. They just looked at me in a new way, like they finally saw the secret I had been hiding. My son was quiet too. He didn't ask to go home. He just followed me everywhere, always holding onto my jacket, like he was afraid I would disappear. One night, while I was counting my tips, he whispered, "Grandma doesn't like us, does she?" I stopped. My throat felt tight. "No, baby," I said. "She doesn't understand us." He looked up at me. "Then why did we live there?" I didn't have an answer. The truth was, I didn't know how to get away from her. My whole life, she trained me to believe I couldn't make it on my own. I worked, I saved, I planned. But I always ended up back at her house, just wanting peace. This time was supposed to be different. But even after what she did, a part of me was still waiting for her to call and say she was sorry. To act like a real mother, that call never came. Instead, my sister posted pictures online. Pictures of palm trees, nice drinks, and her tan. She wrote, "Finally free." My stomach hurt when I saw the name of the credit card company in her post. It was linked to my account. Mom had used my savings and my credit card. That was the moment I really broke. Not the punch, not the blood. It was knowing they didn't just steal from me. They stole my son's childhood, his safety, and his peace. Looked at him that night, sleeping on the diner's old couch. I saw a tiny cut on his cheek. It was from my mom's ring when she hit me. He never told me about it. He didn't want to make me sad. I sat there for hours, watching him sleep, my hands shaking. For years I let her break me. But this time she had hurt my son, and that made me stronger. The next morning, I went to the police station. The officer at the desk looked up. "Can I help you?" "Yes," I said. "I need to file a report for an attack." He blinked. "Against who?" "My mother." He looked at me like he didn't believe me. I gave my statement. I told him every word, showed him every bruise. I showed him the doctor's paper about my broken nose. He took pictures and wrote it all down. "Do you want to press charges?" he asked. I stopped. I wanted to, but I knew that jail wouldn't fix her. It would just make her look like the victim, and I would look like the bad daughter. "No," I said. "I just want it on record, so next time no one can say they didn't know." He nodded. "Are you sure?" "Very." When I left, the air felt different. It felt lighter. I found a small one-bedroom apartment that same week. The rent was high, but the landlord let me pay every week. My son helped me paint the walls. His laughter bounced off the empty rooms. We had no furniture, no fridge, not even a real bed. But when I turned the lights on, I felt like it was finally mine. Mom called once after that. "Your sister said you've been spreading lies," she said. "I haven't said a word," I answered. "But you did break my nose. You can't hide that." She laughed. "I told people you tripped. No one believes you anyway. You've always been dramatic." I smiled. "Maybe, but this time I'm not staying quiet." There was a pause. She took a sharp breath, like she used to do right before she hit me. "You think you can survive without us? You'll come crawling back, just like always." "No," I said softly. "You'll come looking for me." And for the first time in my life, I hung up the phone on her. That night, I lay next to my son. The room still smelled like new paint. He put his head on my arm and whispered, "Can we have cake next year, too?" I smiled and brushed his hair. "Next year, baby," I said. "We'll buy the biggest one they've got." But in my head, I was already planning something else. Something bigger than a cake and colder than forgiving her. I wasn't just going to move on. I was going to make sure that every dollar she took, every lie she told, and every bruise she left turned into a heavy weight she would have to carry forever. They thought the worst thing I could do was leave. They were wrong. I kept my head down for months. I worked double shifts, saved all my tips, and learned everything about baking from George at the diner. I practiced new recipes, testing frosting late at night while my son slept. I learned how to run a small business. When I opened my little shop, it wasn't a big fancy moment. It was just me with flour on my shirt and a for rent sign in the window. People came because the cake was good. Parents brought their kids. A teacher ordered cupcakes. A pastor bought a tray of food for a funeral. People started talking, and the business grew, slowly and honestly. My mother watched from the other side of town. I knew because her neighbor kept talking about how good my lemon tarts were. She sent me messages. She sent me messages. Can we stop by just for a coffee? I never answered. Then one Friday, 2 weeks before my son's birthday, my sister's work office called my shop. Their caterer had canceled. They were in a panic. The party was small, just a goodbye lunch, but they needed food fast. I got the order by email. The woman on the phone sounded very professional, but she had no idea about my family. When I read the order, my hands didn't shake. It listed all the special foods my mother always bragged about. It even said, special dessert for Mrs. L's family celebration. The party was just a block away from the house I used to live in. I wrote, back with a polite price and a delivery time. Then I added my rules. They were clear and simple. I needed all the money paid up front. No excuses. They had to sign a paper agreeing to my rules. The person who ordered the food had to be the one. To contact me, they called. Danielle begged. Mom called. She used that fake sweet voice that always worked on the neighbors. We always supported you, she said. We paid for your training. She tried to make me feel guilty. I just told her the price again. I reminded her of my rules. I asked for the money they couldn't pay. The credit card they tried to use was maxed out. The company bank account they used was frozen because they hadn't paid their bills. They always expected someone else to fix their problems. My little shop was never about revenge. But I knew how to run it like a business. No money, no food. They yelled at me on the phone. They asked for special treatment. They asked for a family discount. I listened. And then I typed one sentence in our chat. Payment not received. Order. Canceled. Then I closed my laptop and walked outside to my son, who was drawing on the sidewalk with chalk. After that, the calls from them stopped. My mother's name didn't open doors for her anymore. My father's voice couldn't smooth over trouble. People who used to trust them started calling me for small things. A birthday cake, food for a funeral, a box of muffins for a school event. They came to me and they were thankful. I never called my family to brag. I never posted anything bad about them online. I didn't have to. I just let the town see my heart. Work. Their calls went unanswered. Their requests were politely turned down. One evening, my phone buzzed. It was a private number. I looked at it and just let it ring. My son was laughing at a cartoon in the corner. I washed a pan, humming to myself. When the ringing stopped, the silence that was left was not empty. It was full. It was peaceful. And it was mine. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments from where are you watching this.